So today's Institute on Aging retreat is titled here, Gender Gap in Aging, and as everyone knows, men and women differ, obviously, and they differ across many domains, but certainly with respect to aging, there are dramatic differences. Women live on average 5 or 6 years longer than men. They have a longer lifespan than men, and these are obviously important issues. One would like to understand what the advantage is of having 2 X chromosomes, or the hormones that are part of the female gender as opposed to the male gender. And so the 3 lectures that we heard today, and they're portrayed in back of me: Susan Resnick from National Institute on Aging, Tracy Bale, and Neil Epperson from Penn, gave very informative, insightful lectures updating us on data from human subjects and animal models that help us understand how gender differences contribute to cognitive performance as we age, and to emotions, to depression, anxiety. So it was, for me, a very enriching experience with the presentations they provided, and then we have that followed up with a poster session, about 50 posters on science across the aging spectrum.
My name's Allison Fries. I'm presenting a poster here, and it's called Suicidal Ideation and Health Outcomes in an Old Population. We were interested in how different levels of suicidal ideation affects health outcomes as measured by the SF-12 outcome measure. And we found that higher levels of suicidal ideation on a scale of no ideation, death ideation, and suicidal ideation using the PayCal measure, higher suicidal ideation was related to worse mental health outcomes in the sense of anxiety and depression scales, but we did not find a significant difference between groups on the physical health scores for the SF-12.
Hi, my name is Steve Allen. I'm one of the trauma surgeons at the Hospital University of Pennsylvania. Our poster is entitled Penetrating Torso Injuries in Older Adults in Urban Trauma Centers Experience. And basically what we did was, since the aging population is becoming the largest portion of trauma care in the United States, with a small subset of that coming from penetrating injuries, including stab wounds and gunshot wounds, but also causing a significant amount of morbidity and mortality in that age group over the age of 55. We wanted to study what exactly is the cause of the morbidity and mortality in this age group. So basically what we hypothesized, that older adults who suffer potentially survivable penetrating injuries do more poorly than a younger cohort due to a lower physiologic reserve, so the inability to actually recover from their injuries from a physiologic standpoint. We performed a retrospective chart review looking at patients over the age of 55 with a matched cohort of patients between the ages of 20 to 40 with injury matched among the 2 groups. And basically what we found is that with an identical injury pattern in the young compared to the old, we found that patients in the older cohort had more complications. We found that the older cohort had longer length of stay both in the ICU and in the hospital proper, and we found that mortality was actually higher in the patients with more complications. And so our conclusion is that it's not necessarily the injuries that are causing the increased mortality among the patients, but our inability to rescue them from the subsequent complications that incur during the hospital stay.
Hi, I'm Neil Epperson, and I just want to say what a great event this has been, being able to partner with the Institute on Aging for the Sylvan Cohen annual retreat has just been a delight. Tracy Bale and I are really excited as co-directors of the Penn Center for the Study of Sex and Gender and Behavioral Health to be a part of this event. Obviously, as our society is aging, we need to understand even more the consequences of aging on brain function, particularly when it comes to cognition, and overall predictors for cognitive health and brain health over the life course. And I think that the talks today really spoke to this, and hopefully we'll learn more by having these kinds of gatherings in the future. Thank you.
It is certainly very interesting, and certainly something that more older people from the general public should come to learn about themselves as they age. It is somewhat difficult for a lay person to observe and to absorb, but it certainly is worth some effort for an aging population like the United States.
Hi, I'm a postdoc with Virginia Lee and John Trojanowski, and the work I was doing prior to coming here for my PhD at Columbia was on selective vulnerability of certain types of motor neurons to degeneration in ALS. So it's interesting because in ALS, though patients become progressively paralyzed until eventually they're bedridden and require a feeding tube and ventilation, even to end stages, they can still move their eyes and they still remain continent. So what I was really interested in is the molecular basis of this selective resistance to degeneration. So the work was on gene expression in resistant versus vulnerable populations, and in particular I found that MMP9, matrix metalloproteinase 9, is selectively expressed in vulnerable motor neurons, and when we remove it in a mouse model, the most commonly used mouse model of ALS, we could delay muscle denervation by almost 80 days. So that was the majority of what I was working on there. But I think, for the takeaway message for future work and for the work I'm doing now is that we really need to think about why mutant proteins can be broadly expressed in different neurodegenerative diseases that are associated with aging, and yet only certain cell types are selectively vulnerable. And so understanding why some succumb to disease and others don't, and what potential coping mechanisms are, can be broadly applied beyond ALS to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and other diseases in general. So
I'm delighted to be here today by invitation of Dr. Epperson and Dr. Trojanowski to speak at the annual Institute of Aging retreat. And this year it was particularly exciting because it was on a topic close to my heart, on sex differences. My talk was on sex differences in cognitive and brain aging, and I was able to share some new findings from the Baltimore longitudinal study of aging, as well as some older, well-known findings from the Women's Health Initiative memory study. So it's been a delightful day, and since I spent 10 years in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania, it was particularly nice to come back and see many old colleagues, as well as meet some new ones. Thank you.
So our cash prizes, not really cash, they're 200 for first prize. 100 for second. Second, and this goes to their bank account in Switzerland, or it goes right to no taxes.
But really into their pen account.
It goes into your pen account. And then the winners, we try to pick papers with the most authors so that there's the most interesting discussion where the $200. So again, I think this has been a phenomenal IOA and Penn's Women's Health and Behavior. If I don't have it in front of me, Neil, I have trouble remembering the whole name.
It's at the top of the page.
It's
right there, yes.
Oh, yes, it is. The Center for the Study of Sex and Gender in Behavioral Health and Medicine. Sorry, Neil, it's a long name. 2 clinical prizes, 2 prizes for clinical research and 2 for basic science. And so I'm pleased to announce the first prize winner for the clinical is J. Haratz, J. Zimmerman, S. Liang, A. Hellstrom, and on, David Oslin. Are we seeing? John Haratz, Jason Haratz, Jim Haratz?
I'm Jacob.
Jacob Haratz, okay.
And why don't you get the title?
Oh, Jacob Zimmerman, okay. And the title is Telephone-Based Intervention for Chronic Pain in Older Adults Enrolled in a Behavioral Health Care Management Program. So our reviewers thought this was very creative, patient-oriented research, and so I'm pleased to say you are, and your team, are the winners of the first prize.
That's great.
Congratulations. Oh, and then we take a picture in front of our announcement. Beautiful. Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Yes.
Very good. And then the second prize winner in the clinical area is also very interesting. It's Dante Scantling, Kit Delgado, Daniel Holena, Jose Pascual, Patrick Riley, Stephen Allen, and the title is Penetrating Torso Injuries in an Elderly Population and Urban Trauma Centers Experience. And somehow you look like you could be Dante Scantling. Dane, I'm sorry, Dante. I don't know, where did Dante come from? These are struck. Okay, anyway. You'll take the prize any way it comes.
Excellent.
Congratulations. Over here. So,
1, 2, 3.
wonderful.
Thank you.
How are you going to split this up with your teammates?
I won't share.
You won't share, okay. And then we also have two basic prizes, and the first prize goes to Lin Guo, Heya Wang, Nikita Singh, and James Shorter, and that's defining CAP beta 2 as a protein disaggregase for ALS disease protein (FUS). So hey, very good. And this is Lin Guo. You did all the work. A lot of the work. It was a team effort. Okay. Congratulations. So, great. Thank you very much. And the checks are in the mail, is that right? Okay. Okay. And then the final prize winner is Krista Spiller. We have an out-of-towner here with us. She's actually in our lab, but the work was done at Columbia. And she had a couple glasses of wine. We were drinking together at her poster, but she gave a very coherent presentation. I really enjoyed her lecture and then her poster presentation. So it's Krista Spiller, Artem Kaplan, Kristen Town, Kevin Canning, Patrick Abisher, and Chris Henderson. The work done at Columbia. MMP9 in subsets of spinal motor neurons drives loss of fast muscle innervation and ALS potential therapeutic targets. So really exciting stuff, Krista.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Okay. And then a picture.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for your attendance.
Combine the education in with the clinical.
Yes. So in the past, we had a separate education. We combined it with the clinical, so the clinical and the education reflects one prize called clinical. Right. So thank you very much for coming, and hope to see you again next year.